I think what I had to start doing for my own sanity, as well as ultimately like being more successful in the long run, was to focus on making content that I had fun doing and that I wasn't purposefully trying to make to show off in a certain way.
Welcome to Get Scene Unscripted. I'm your host, Jesse Malinowski. We are going to dive into acting insights, meet industry pros, and master the business. Don't forget to subscribe and share. We're keeping you behind the scenes and ahead of the game. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Get Scene Unscripted. I'm your host, Jesse Malinowski. If this is your first time, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Get ready for an awesome conversation with an actor here in the Southeast, Mr. Aaron Goldenberg. What's up, Aaron?
Hey, Jesse. Thanks for having me.
It's so good to have you here, man. And
truly was thinking a month ago, I was like, when is Jesse Malinowski going to ask me to be on Get Scene Unscripted?
and then I found you.
Manifestation, it works.
You know what? What's interesting is if you were thinking about that a month ago, I think that's when I originally wanted to hit you up, and I realized you weren't in my phone.
Whoa.
I didn't have your cell phone number. And so this is no lie. I was like, I'm going to invite Aaron to be on the podcast. And I went to text you and I was like, oh, I thought I had his phone number. I guess I don't. And then,
I guess we're not friends. Shit.
And then I just stopped. And then it came up again. And I was like, well, now I'll slide in his DMs.
There you go. That always works.
Yeah. No, but I looked in, I didn't slide in your DMs. I just looked up your email via Get Scene.
Yeah, because I had previously taken a Get Scene workshop.
Yeah.
Multiple. Yeah.
You know, which honestly, man, this is like why I wanted to bring you on, because I was like, man, I remember you in 2019, because that's when you moved here, right?
Yeah.
2019, moving here, trying to get an agent. You were taking some classes. You were doing some like CD workshops with us. Like you were essentially like starting from like a complete beginner. Not like you don't have training, you haven't been doing this for a while, but when it comes to the Southeast. And now when I look at you, and really just a short 5 years, I mean, you're really crushing it, man. And so I'm proud of you and happy for you, man. And so that's why I thought I wanted to bring you on.
Thanks, man. And I owe it all to Get Scene Studios.
You heard it here, everyone.
Yeah. No, but I remember when I got to town, was just really hungry for community, but also to learn. I grew up and started my career in Miami, Florida, where there's lots of commercials, lots of theater, but comparatively, especially to Atlanta, very little access to film and TV training, from what I found anyway. So I truly, when I got here, I didn't know the difference between a co-star, guest star, like what the pay scales were and all that stuff. Like that was all new to me, but it's all things that I learned from things like Get Scene and Drama Inc. Classes and workshops. And those were the two main places that were recommended to me. And I remember, of course, as with many people that move here, AMT, the top agency, was at the top of my list. And I was like, I'm going to get Jason Lockhart. So I went to his workshop with Get Scene. And I remember after the workshop, I think maybe you had said something complimentary to me. Jason had also really liked my tapes and said some really nice things during the workshop. I was like, holy shit, I'm going to sign with AMT. And can I curse, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Good, because I will.
Good, because I want you to.
Because I love a dirty mouth. But yeah, Jason, I was also taking class at Drama Inc. and Jason McDonald, I told him about the workshop and he was like, I'll write you a referral letter. And he did. And Jason Lockhart came back basically saying, we really liked him. He just doesn't have the experience. And I was like, oh no, I'm never going to sign with a good agent here. And then I was turned down by like multiple other agents that were much smaller. So then I just got very discouraged. Like, wow, I'm really not going to sign with anybody here. And then took a workshop with Brian Beagle. He told me, hey, next time you get a interview that you're serious about, let me know and I'll send a referral. And And that was with Jay Purvis, and that's who I've been with since October 2019.
Nice. Love Jay Purvis.
Yeah.
They're great. Joy, Jamie, the whole team over there. But kind of even fast forwarding now through, I mean, dude, when I looked up your resume, it appears to me that like in the last 2 years, you've booked a dozen projects. And
Something like that, yeah.
like, dude, such a big congrats, man. And I mean, I love that you shared how you had these rejections and you're like, I guess I'm not going to sign with anybody, right? And then it finally happens. And then all of a sudden, like these dominoes, all of a sudden really start to hit for you. Is there anything that you kind of felt like you did differently, or like how have the bookings just been rolling in for you lately, would you say?
Well, first of all, I will say that although at the time it felt like rejection, it really was opening a different door. Like even Jason Lockhart, now we know each other. Anytime we see each other in public or at an event, we always say hi, and it's very amiable. And but I remember leaving my interview with Jay Purvis, and Joy called me the next day. There was supposed to be a callback round and then an additional interview round, and she just said, "We want to sign you based off of this first initial interview.
They let you skip American Idol."
They did. Yeah.
Wow, look at that.
They said, "We want to get you auditioning right away."
Great.
And I remember thinking like, oh, these previous people that passed on me, I would so much prefer what I'm feeling right now, which is an agent that is so excited to have me on that they want to get me in the rooms
100%,
right now. And the thing I tell people that are just moving here or still looking for agents is it doesn't have to be an AMT or J Purvis, whatever. I know people that are with, quote, smaller agencies or agents that maybe you haven't heard of, but they're getting in the rooms because that agent is so passionate about them.
Exactly.
And believes in what they can do. So to me, the names of the agencies are irrelevant if
it's about the relationship.
Your question though was
how have you booked a dozen projects in 2 years? Tell me.
Okay. Well, it definitely, IMDb timelines are definitely different than filming timelines. Yeah. And there are things I've filmed that
you're like, half of those projects I did 5 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Bad Monkey, which just came out in May, I shot that in April 2022.
That's still 2 years ago.
That's still... Okay, Jesse is really determined to just say that I booked a dozen things in 2 years.
Why are you trying to own your successes?
You know what, Jesse?
Aaron Goldenberg?
I've booked 2 dozen things in 2 years. So that's, yeah, there you go.
Well, I'm so sorry I had my facts wrong. How have you booked 2 dozen
20 dozen things.
20 dozen? Wow.
I guess I'll just say there are timing and it's right place, right time, right tools type of thing. So 2022 specifically was the year that I have booked the most in my time here in Georgia. And I remember it feeling like I wasn't feeling like I was getting a ton of auditions, but I felt like every audition that was coming in was something that I confidently felt like, oh yeah, I can book this. And for instance, my Righteous Gemstones role, that's a show that I love and
so good.
Ever since season 1, I was begging my agent, like all of season 2 filming, I was like, please let me get in for this show. And nothing came in. And part of me, as the actor, wanted to like blame my agent or blame casting for not knowing that I can do comedy or whatever it is. And then I saw season 2 and I kind of sat back and humbly acknowledged like, oh, I don't know that there was a role for me in season 2. So auditioning me for this would have been sort of forcing me in where I didn't belong. And then as I heard they were coming back for season 3, again, I reached out to my agent. I was like, would love to read for the show. I really feel like I belong in this world. And that one role came up, and it was my first and only audition that I
Wow, really?
did for that show, and booked it. And that's happened 2 or 3 times now, where I just have a feeling or an instinct about a specific show and specifically reach out to my team about it, and it ends up happening. Bad Monkey was another one of those, where I had a relationship with Lori Wyman because of my growing up in Miami, and had previously worked with Michelle Monaghan on her Netflix show Echoes, and there were just a lot of like connections for that show that I felt like I could make it on this set. And that was another example of like my one and only audition was the one that I booked.
Wow.
And then, as we know, there are shows we audition for a dozen times and never get. Or, I have a friend who auditioned for Dope Sick, I think 17 times, which again, or if people don't know, is a limited series. So just, a 10 episode thing. He auditioned a lot, never booked a role. And I didn't get one audition, even though I had reached out to my team and said, hey, I'm sober, not from the drug that was being discussed there, but I'm a sober person. I would love to be a part of something like this. This just feels like such an important story. And for whatever reason, the stars did not align and couldn't get in there. But I think that's part of the lesson that I'm consistently learning about, like not comparing to other people or putting additional trust or, surrendering to the casting and their vision and all that stuff. But that's hard when all you want to do is be on set and do what you love.
How do you decide which shows to reach out to your agent about? You obviously are bringing up the examples where you've done it.
Sure.
But someone might confuse this with like, well, just tell them I want to be on all the shows.
Yeah.
So how do you decide, like, because I know that you're having a reason, like talking about Dope Stick, and you're like, I have this connection to it, right? Yeah. With Righteous Gemstones, kind of knowing a little bit more about you, I can understand how you might be like, I really have like a connection to this. Like, so do you decide solely because you have a connection, or even in Bad Monkey, right? It's like, well, I had the connection of Lori Wyman, and then I worked on Echoes. So, how are you building this together to reach out to your agent to have like essentially a good pitch?
Yeah, I'll give an example of another show that I reached out about that I did not get an audition for, but I felt like it was warranted, which was Queer as Folk, which was a limited series on Peacock, or they meant for it hopefully to be multiple seasons, but it ended up getting canceled after one. I knew multiple of the series regulars, like mutual friends on Instagram. A couple of the showrunners followed me on Instagram. It also is a queer show, filming in the Southeast. I'm a queer actor.
What?
To me, what?
What?
Jesse.
Hold on.
I'm gay.
We got to start this over.
Whoa.
I didn't know it was...
Are you going to talk to me different now that you know I'm gay?
No.
Yeah. No. What?
Okay, continue.
Jesse, I'm so gay.
Oh,
I hope that's okay. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
Jesse, weren't you in Boy Erased?
I was. Man, I have such a story for Boy Erased too, but I don't want to cut your story off. If you're an actor wanting to improve your auditions, I have great news, because our Improve Your Audition Bootcamp is coming up. This is one of my favorite challenges that we do, or boot camps that we put together of the entire year, because it focuses on what our job is as actors, which is improve your audition. So if you're wanting specific strategies to make your audition stand out, to know what to do to kind of have those self-tape hacks to make self-taping more fun, easier, and make your auditions more engaging, then you're going to want to show up to this boot camp. It's an incredible deal because it's 2 weeks long, only $37. And don't let me forget to tell you that we also bring in some of the top casting directors of the Southeast to help teach this and go over it. So we're going to be working on different things every single class, and then actors will be selected at random to do either a live Zoom or self-tape. Everyone will get the homework so we all can implement these different strategies and tactics, so you are learning and growing in this boot camp to actually improve your audition. And then who knows, maybe you even get selected to help us run that class with that big casting director. So I hope to see you there. Again, it's only $37, but by the way, if you look in the description, there might be a promo code there. So use that promo code now, grab your spot, and I can't wait to see you at our Improve Your Audition Bootcamp.
My story. Anyway, yes. So reached out about that show. That one ended up not coming through with an audition, but to me it made sense, not just having some kind of a connection to the show where I felt like I, as a person and as an actor, could contribute to the world of the show, but understood it and had personal relationships within the cast and crew, at least networking wise. And you know, but it's different not having read the script and knowing what roles they're exactly looking for. And that's another show too, that when I watched it, I was like, yeah, I maybe could have fit in the show here, but I don't see a role on here
that screams
that I would say, that's me. I could have done that.
So I think the next part I want to ask that I think is really important for everyone is, so I think that's a beautiful pitch, right? I know some of the crew, I know the actors, like I'm part of this world, like I should have an audition,
but
right?
I see where you're going. I definitely wouldn't recommend any show that you like love and maybe have one connection to a crew member or a director. Like, you know, that could be a dozen shows that are filming right now, and doesn't mean you should reach out based on every single one.
I think if you can find the connection, I think if it makes sense. But I wanted to know more on the side of everything you just said makes total sense. I think everyone, if, you know, rewind time, we're like, is he going to get an audition? Everyone's like, votes, yes, he's definitely going to get an audition. Then you don't. How are you not furious with Jay Purvis?
Great question.
I love Jay Purvis. So Joy, Jamie, because I know Joy's watching. Joy watches all the episodes.
Does she?
She does.
I love that. Hi, Joy.
So yeah, how are we not mad at Jay Purvis then?
I love my agency so much, and I think we have such a good trusting relationship that we've built over time. And also, there have been times where I've expressed my confusion or disappointment, or like, hey, help me understand, because I have friends that are auditioning 5 to 7 times a week, and sometimes I'm getting one a month, or sometimes I'm getting, you know, whatever. And their response would typically be, well, what does your friend look like? What is their what is their type, you know? And I was mostly at that time talking about Drew Ader, who is a very different type than me. And, you know, is marketable in a completely different way.
Definitely. When you're getting 5, 7 auditions, he's getting 1.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, not to compare, but one thing my agency emphasizes, like, okay, well, Aaron, that, you know, it's not like I was getting one every month, but I would really hyper focus on those times where the auditions were few and far between. But what I came to realize was, maybe if it seems like I'm getting fewer auditions, am I getting auditions that feel right for me and that I feel like I can book? And the answer was yes. And even with the, you know, quote, relatively few auditions I'm getting in comparison, which I'm a big believer in, comparison's the thief of joy, like looking at other actors, whether it's their bookings or auditions or opportunities or whatever they're doing, comparing to other people, the relatively few auditions, you know, quote, few auditions that I'm getting results like avail checks and first refusals and all that. So would I prefer a dozen auditions in a week, but maybe only one comes through,
or 0, you know, if you're not right
0,
for it,
right?
yeah.
Or would I prefer to have maybe 2 to 3 auditions that month, but have an avail check on 2 of them, and even that third one that maybe I didn't hear anything, know that I felt like I did really solid work, and felt like I showed myself another like 3-dimensional character to the casting directors, and continue building that relationship up.
I love that. I love that. I think that's awesome. One of the other things about you that, you know, anyone watching probably knows is you've become gay. Yes.
Now Jesse knows that.
Now I know. Yeah. That you're a bit of an influencer.
Yeah.
You have 1.3 million followers on TikTok, or do you have more now since I've checked?
I haven't looked this morning. I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, over 1 million, like over 350,000, I think, on Instagram. How important is that to you?
Whoa.
That wasn't even in your notes.
It wasn't.
I just improv that one.
How important is that to me?
Yeah. Because I think there's a bunch of different levels to it. One, in being a creator and creating things, and like I think there is like that's us being fulfilled as artists, right? So like that, but then also being able to like monetize it, to also being fulfilled even as a person. I don't know. So yeah, how important is it to you?
Great question, Jesse. I think as an artist, it is definitely important and validating to feel like people like and appreciate your work enough to follow, or to share your videos, or to leave a comment and all that. So it definitely does scratch an artist's itch for me, especially in a year like 2003 where things were so slow and very discouraging for a lot of the year. I still had relatively big success on TikTok and Instagram, and that, you know, maybe at times in an unhealthy way felt like my validation or reason for, you know, continuing to create art. But also, I think even when my following first started growing, once I started creating content in 2020 on those platforms, I knew that in the back of my mind, I always wanted it to be sort of like an additional reel or resume, or just way to showcase something extra that I could do. And, you know, I think maybe we've all heard some level of stories of like, oh, if you have this many followers, then they'll write the roles for you, or they'll like put you in their thing. So that was kind of on my mind as well. Like, hey, if this is going to make it easier to get me in the door. So I started letting my agency know once I got up to even like 50,000 followers on TikTok. I was like, hey, I'm cruising here. I'm winning. So, you know, show these people here's my like most recent viral videos that are doing really well and are really funny. And I was sort of surprised consistently of how that did nothing, really. It did not.
That's not what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, no. It did not
that
work.
did nothing.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah.
I think my agent my agents were very kind in cheering me on and watching the stuff, and, you know, following me on those platforms as well, and keeping up with what I was doing. But really what I realized over time, what it came down to is like productions were still trying to look for people that were right for the role. And I feel like I got into the, I guess, viral influencer thing at a few years too late, because I think productions at that time had become wise to the fact that just because somebody's funny in a 1-minute video doesn't mean that they are a asset to you on your film or TV show, especially when they are in 5-minute scenes and have to deal with character arcs and are they trained and all that stuff. So then that became one of the things that I tried to really encourage my team to emphasize. Like, if you are going to use the fact that now I have 1.3 million and you know, this many viral videos, and I'm known specifically for this character of the mean gays because I am gay, as you just learned. I know, Jesse, you keep forgetting.
Shit.
You're like Dory. And one thing I had them keep emphasizing was, yes, he's an influencer, and yes, he's got these viral comedy content videos, but he is a trained actor. He's been doing this since he was a kid. He has a degree.
Did you begin to think it was going to hurt you?
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was starting to take these workshops, or not starting to, but I had continued taking workshops, you know, during the pandemic and classes on Zoom and everything. And in almost every one, especially if it was a casting director, I would kind of ask them like, hey, how can this, you know, newfound thing for me of having a following and doing comedy content like help or hurt me? And most of them were basically like, we just want the right person for the role, and ultimately, like, it doesn't really matter now. And that was very surprising for me to hear. What I did learn is it has helped more for getting roles or getting consideration for lower budget things, because they can then use it to pitch to investors like, hey, we've got this person with this many followers, and so that means they'll put it in front of this many people in their audience. Kind of a funny story. One of my first bookings was Echoes for Netflix, which is Michelle Monaghan was my one of my scene partners. Incredible, wonderful person, by the way. But the point is, with my following that I had back then in 2021, when I booked that, I decided to respond to one of the Netflix executives that were in my email chain and said like, hey, by the way, if there's any desire for you guys for me to take some video or photo content on set, I'm happy to help promote the show and whatever, and, you know, stuff on my social media. I wrote it in such a way of like, hey, willing to do this for free, just like,
right,
you know, happy to be a part of the show. And I was pretty mortified by their response.
Really?
Which was basically like, we're good. Netflix has...
We're Netflix.
Yeah. Netflix has a marketing team. And I was like, got it. So sorry. And then, of course, the series was like #1 for weeks and weeks. And I was like, okay, I am such a small fish. They really do not care.
Wow.
About what I can do for Netflix, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they ended up cutting my scene anyway. So it didn't, you know, how much marketing would I have done for a show that I was cut for regardless? But
wow.
Overall, it was still a great experience, and I'll work for Netflix at some other future date.
You absolutely will.
Yeah.
So that's so interesting. So has that changed your thought process in creating content? Or because it seems like it probably would have continued to evolve for you. Like, oh, maybe this will happen. You're like, oh, I guess that's not happening. You're like, well, now I'm here, so now I can do this. Oh, I guess I'm not doing that either. Like, have you been like, why am I doing this? Like,
oh, so many times.
Yeah.
Especially, there was a period of like a year and a half. I was going to say a week and a half. A year and a half where I kept.
You're like, a week and a half. I quit.
A week and a half. I'm done with this. TikTok kept banning me.
They were banning you?
Yeah.
Why?
Because my videos apparently had nudity in them and stuff. I think it was just trolls mass reporting my stuff for being a gay content creator. I did not have any nudity. I'm not confident enough to be naked on my TikTok.
But Drew was naked.
But Drew was half naked, at least. So, yeah, I experienced a lot of like viewership suppression. I would post, even though I had hundreds of thousands of followers at that time, I would post a video and maybe it would get 300 views. And I was like, what is happening? Like, so those moments really, really made me think like, why am I doing this? If nobody's going to see this, it's embarrassing to post and get these kind of numbers. Am I ever going to recover from the algorithm and all this?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and for this, non-sentient computer thing that doesn't care about my feelings and doesn't know that I
Right.
am working hard on these videos and doesn't care about my happiness or anything like that. So
Algorithm, did you hear that?
Did
We
you
have
hear that?
feelings. Push this video.
yeah.
Continue.
Okay. Now that all of a sudden 100,000 more people are watching, I think what I had to start doing for my own sanity, as well as ultimately like being more successful in the long run, was to focus on making content that I had fun doing and that I wasn't purposefully trying to make to show off in a certain way. So a lot of my content over the years, at times I can admit, was because I thought that a certain joke or character would really show my range and it would really showcase me to actors, or I would make actor themed videos so that maybe I would get in front of casting directors or whoever, like if the video did well.
Yeah, smart.
And occasionally that would happen. I made a couple of videos about, actors who are always told, you need to go ask Tyler Perry for a role. And those videos did well. They're 2 years old now, and I had somebody the other day come up to me in public and tell me how much they liked that video. So clearly it made a splash, but also the Tyler Perry thing that I did book, they didn't see that video and they didn't know that I even had a following. They, again, cast me because
You were right.
was the right person for the role. I will say, especially in the last year plus, where I've really shifted my focus, especially like collaborating with Jake Jones, who I do the Mean Gaze characters with, focusing on just being dumb and stupid and having fun, but also like trying to take time and put things out that I truly think are just funny. That's where A, the following has skyrocketed, and B, now people in Hollywood are following and are recognizing us. We had Jake in December ask me one day, it's like, do you ever DM with Zooey Deschanel? And I was like, no, do you? And he said, yeah, she follows both of us. And I was shocked, and I had to go look to verify, and sure enough, she did. And so I DM'd her. I was like, holy shit, I thank you.
Right.
I've watched you for so many years. And she was kind enough to respond. And so we've like DM'd back and forth a couple of times. And, or somebody like Michelle Monaghan, who I was a one-day co-star with, but because of her relationship with my roommate, who played her double on Echoes, as well as just continuing to create content and everything, she's also somebody that I've been able to connect with and talk back and forth. Series that I have been a part of, the series regulars from that, a lot of times end up following me, even if I'm, again, just a one-day co-star. It's just something that I have found that the comedy it has attracted a new set of people that I hope to feel like peers with, in the industry. I think that's one of the things we all strive for, is just to walk on set and feel like you're a part of a group of peers that are making something that we all care about.
You know what I love about that is that, and I think this just happens in things that we're doing and we're trying, is like, it first started out as one thing and then it kind of turned into something else. And where you're ultimately, it sounds like, at least, finding success and feeling best about it is really just comes down to serving and being selfless and creating just these comedy sketches that, like, Zoe Deschanel will laugh at, or somebody else, or one of the other millions of people that are following you.
Yeah.
And I think when we come from that place of just like, I just want to serve and help, and you know, somebody might be having a bad day, and if this is the moment that they kind of smile, like, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
if then you get an extra follow or a cool connection, then like that's great. But ultimately, you're not going to be able to continue doing it if it's always about you, or if it's about these specific things that you want, because as you've kind of learned along the way, it's like actually doesn't pan out that way. But if you make it completely not about you and about the audience, then that's when these kind of, I don't know, I'll say like bonuses or cherry on tops begin to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's also so much less exhausting to work that way. I think when the goals were different and the results were what they were, viewership wise or following wise, whatever, it was extra discouraging and extra disheartening. Whereas nowadays my goals and focus seem to be a bit different. So no matter what the results are, I tend to just be a bit more positive about it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then I can do something like the audition I did this morning, where it was more dialogue than I've had in a little bit with an audition. And just watching the tapes back before submitting, I was like, I look really relaxed on screen. That's great. Like, that was just such a nice thing for me to know that I'm not like full of stress and emotion right now. Yeah.
Hey, are you a parent of a young actor? Then you're going to want to pay attention to this, because Get Scene Studios has what we call our Rising Star program. This program is incredible. It is a monthly program that puts you in front of an industry pro every single month and focuses on what a young actor needs to be focusing on, which is auditions. So every single month we focus on either theatrical auditions or commercial auditions, so they can be set up for success when they get an agent, or if they already have an agent, to really succeed at these auditions and even begin to make money at this. So we bring in different industry pros every single month, and agents and casting directors, and then work on those auditions. So if this sounds like something that you would like to get your child or a friend that has a child involved in, all you need to do is email risingstar@getscenestudios.com, and we will let you try your first month for just $1 a class. That's right, only $1 a class. All you got to do is email us, and we will get you all set up and ready to go to improve those auditions, and then also get in front of those industry pros, because we are Get Seen. Thanks for watching. Well, so with your, I guess I'll say, platform, you've been able to monetize it in different ways. But one of the things you're doing right now is, and like we just found out, you're gay.
Whoa.
So
wait, I'm just finding that out right
you're
now.
just finding it out. But you have this show that you're traveling the country with this show. So cool.
Yeah.
Mean Gays Live. Actually, tomorrow here in Atlanta.
Whoa.
So tell us about this show. Why should we go see it? Again, incredible. It tells the cities you've already been to. Like, it's so cool.
Yeah. So at the time of this recording, there are still tickets available in Atlanta. But possibly when this comes out, we will have added another show, or maybe it's sold out. Who knows? You were too late. But we have already played Boston, Chicago, St. Louis. And by the time this comes out, we will have also played Philly and New York.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's been so fun. Jake and I worked extremely hard on the script, and just trying to give kind of a variety show in a way. A lot of people asked us at first, like, what is the show going to be? Are you guys going to just stand on stage for 90 minutes and talk to the audience and do crowd work and be funny, or show videos and sing? What are you gonna do?
Do you sing?
Well, the answer to all of it is yes. We just do everything. But yeah, we really wanted to create a tight 90-minute show that A, we felt good about, but B, that we felt the audience wouldn't be bored at watching or being in the room. And so far, our audiences have been really, really seemingly entertained the whole time and on board for the whole ride. It's been really cool, and I'm really excited for the Atlanta show for Surge just being, you know, our hometown audience. And yeah, but the other cities have been great as well.
So I'm going to bring in one of my new segments of this year, Actor Dilemma.
Whoa, okay.
So Actor Dilemma is if you have a choice of either having an insanely viral reel that everyone sees, like everyone will now know you from the reel.
Okay, great.
Or you're able to continue to create shows like this and continue to travel and do these comedy shows. Or be a series regular, but only for one season because the show ends.
Whoa. That's a hard one.
Yeah.
Because my, I think, actor brain, I've trained myself to see anything as like, how does it contribute to the long-term goals as well?
Yeah,
just the longevity of everything. So I can see long-term benefits to all three of those. Okay, so having a viral reel, continuing to do this show.
Well, or it could be like more shows. Like you're able to just continue to build on it. You're able to just continue to travel with this style of show even.
Maybe series regular for one season because it gets canceled. Just because I have to choose, because you've forced this dilemma on me. Okay, question about the show, because we've said no details. Is it a show that like makes a splash but gets canceled anyway, or is it a show that like basically nobody saw because it was on some random streaming platform?
I mean, I think if it's getting canceled after one, then it probably didn't make a big splash.
But then I have series regular on my resume, and I've got that experience, which is something that I do have series regular on my resume, but it was a pilot that I shot that did not get picked up. And that is definitely a really big bucket list item. So I've done touring. So I've kind of scratched that off. I did a musical national tour last year. And I've had viral videos that it feels like everybody's seen.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Said, I don't need another viral video.
I would love another viral video, but also series regular feels like that, thing for every actor, where I know too that, my team could then use the fact that, even if the show gets canceled, like, hey, he's got series regular on his resume, let's get him in the room for more of these. I feel like it would ultimately lend itself more to meeting that long-term goal of being continuous series regular on that and multiple series. So I would choose that.
True actor over here.
Whoa.
True actor. All right. I like it. So, well, again, fantastic about the show. Everyone, if there's tickets, grab it. Check it out in the description right now. We have the link there. But quickly, as we're slowly wrapping up here, I wanted to chat with you also about, you do this show Mean Gays Live. But there was a time in your life that, I don't know if you want to say it was a struggle, just kind of based on your upbringing and having to go through conversion therapy, which is essentially, well, I should probably let you describe it, but essentially like your church being like, you don't have to be gay, like let us help you with this. And I find it just so interesting, like you going through that, because it made you want to stop being an actor, not really be yourself and truly be who you are. And so I'm so, like, I honestly will just say like proud of you to like get to where you are now, to just truly be who you are, also be doing what you love. And so I'd love to hear a little bit on finding your way through that and whether it be what gave you the courage, bravery, you know, to be able to get where you are today. And I mean, really a long journey. We could do a whole podcast just on that, really.
Yeah.
You know, but I'd love to know, you know, some aha moments that I think can really help some other people when it comes to just being you and the weight that must lift off of you when you finally do that.
Yeah, I definitely will start. I'll start with saying, you know, I was raised in a very religious upbringing, so being gay was never really seen as anything but bad and villainized in some kind of a way. It was always associated with hell and or pedophilia or you know, just things that are to the extreme. And as I got older, you know, started hearing messages like, you know, gay people aren't happy. Like, that's not real. They might say they're happy, and of course the word gay means happy, but they're not really happy. So why would anybody want to choose that life? But it was, of course, a real struggle growing up in church and surrounded by that kind of rhetoric and feeling like, oh gosh, something is really, really wrong with me. Like, I'm broken. So then as I was nearing coming out, I was having a conversation with my parents, and basically they, my dad specifically, said, you know, there is help. Like, there is, you know, this is wrong. So there is a way to not do that, which conversion therapy is proven ineffective and has been banned in many, many states, for those of you who did not know. But yeah, so did that for a year, which for me was basically just speaking to a therapist.
Did it feel like it helped?
Quote therapist. No.
Okay.
No. All it did really was give me a lot of negative beliefs about myself and further emphasize to me that I was that something was like really wrong with me if I was doing all this work and the feelings still weren't going away. And I would pray and I would cry and I would, you know, tell everybody who asked about my sexuality, like, no, why would you even ask that? Why would you say that? Like, I'm not gay. I don't like boys. Meanwhile, hooking up with, you know, guys at school on the DL and just living a completely stressful double life. And it makes me, this is sort of a side topic, but it makes me so happy these days when I do see younger people out and feeling free to be themselves, because I started having crushes on boys when I was 7 years old. So I knew from a very young age, and I feel like if I had grown up in an environment and a surrounding where it was acceptable and fine and normal, maybe I wouldn't have gone through a lot of the pain that I did. But
yeah, I mean, that makes sense. So it, you know, it's nice, yeah, to see that, because you know that they're not going through like the years essentially, right? That you had to go through of the back and forth, like, is this good? Is it bad? Something's wrong with me? So then when you finally did get to a place where you're like, I'm gonna be me, how did you ultimately get there?
Well, even prior to that, like you kind of hinted at, I had decided at a certain point, I was doing a lot of regional theater. At that point was my main gig, and was surrounded by a lot of out happy gay people. And I decided that being around happy gay people was ultimately a bad influence on me, because it was putting a dent in that core belief, or that thing that I felt was so important for me to hang on to, which is accepting this part of yourself would ruin your life. But I was seeing evidence to the contrary. And so my decision for that, instead of really confronting the cognitive dissonance and saying, oh, maybe that core belief you have isn't true, or maybe that thing that you were taught isn't true, I said, well, obviously I've got to quit acting. So I did. Started working full time, went back to school for psychology, was just convinced to give it up forever, because to me, what I thought was honoring God and going to heaven was more important than anything. And that included being happy, which doesn't God want us to be happy? So
I think so, yeah.
It doesn't make sense. So anyway, I a couple of years into that break from acting, circumstances in my life caused me to get sober. So joined a program of recovery and really just started like getting honest with everything in my life, and also being surrounded by people that weren't necessarily fundamentalist Christians and seeing all types of people from all types of faiths and sexualities, and people that I could objectively see were happy and good people doing good things. And that was just very eye-opening to me. And I felt like I saw the world and good and God in a new way. And ultimately, that is the biggest part of what made me question everything in my life and say, like, okay, well, first of all, you have wanted to be an actor your whole life, and you gave it up for a very strange reason. Like, this is still where your heart lies. You still love the arts and want to do this and want to pursue this. And then also just asking myself questions like, if God wants me to be happy, and if God created me this way, what if God sees this part of me as beautiful and not as something that makes me broken or awful or bad?
Yeah.
And allowing myself to really like dig deep and dig through that pain brought me to a place of more acceptance for myself. And as I got back into acting with that, newly slowly coming out, I realized too that there was so much baggage of just auditioning or representing roles in what I thought needed to be a heterosexual way, and realizing that for most auditions in my entire life, I had been putting on an extra mask of
being what you think that they want,
yeah,
instead of just being you.
And even as much as the world has progressed recently, and as young as I am, there were so many messages I heard, even as like a young person, that like, you can't be gay and be a successful actor. Like, that feels crazy to say nowadays in 2024, but I remember those things being, or like it being a huge scandal when somebody would, come out of the closet, and how their career would change and all that stuff.
Remember when that happened for Ricky Martin?
I mean, so many, many examples. Yeah.
That's the first one I can think of. It's like everybody was just like blown away. Like, what? No.
I do remember that. Yeah. How could he be gay with how he moves his hips? But yeah, now we've got, so many incredible out gay actors that are winning Academy Awards or being nominated for roles for playing gay actors. Matt Bomer, and losing his name right now, but for Fellow Travelers recently, that was a big headline in, some of the gay magazines recently, of like, oh my gosh, they you gay actors can be nominated for playing gay, because there's just this conception in Hollywood, like, is it even acting if they're playing a gay role? Anyway, the point going back was as I started allowing myself in audition scenarios to come with a more authentic version of myself, I started seeing more success in bookings. I started seeing more success in relationships with casting. One of the
Well, wait a second. I asked you earlier.
You did.
What was the thing that made it all come together?
And I said, you're going to wait till the end. I didn't think of this answer back then.
All right.
An hour ago, Jesse. Okay. But I, at a Get Scene workshop with
but we're circling back to Get Scene.
with
All
George
right.
Pierre.
This is allowed.
Remember, I said I owe my whole career to Get Scene workshops. How much am I getting paid for today, by the way?
You'll see at the end.
Great.
It depends how good this story is.
I love that answer. Very promising. At a Get Scene workshop with George Pierre, we were asked to do 2 contrasting takes of a scene, and I don't remember the exact scenario, but it was the scene was something like a guy and his best friend talking about this girl. And I did one scene as written, where the character was very clearly straight and crushing on this girl. And then I decided for my contrasting scene to do it where I really had a crush on my best friend in the scene. And focusing all of my, intention and affection and changing the subtext to, I want you so bad and I want to tell you and I love you so much. But
instead we're
all
talking
that
about
stuff.
the girl.
Right.
Right.
But the words are talking about the girl, but I'm really talking about him.
So good.
And George later in the workshop, when there's a call background, so it's just us. And I think you were in the room. I don't really remember. It was years ago. So long ago.
Wow.
But-
Okay. And you don't even remember.
Okay, well, it was either you or somebody that worked for you.
It was me.
Was it?
I think.
Anyway, it was you. I remember. That's not important. What's important is what George said, which is, which was, he didn't even have me do the scene again for the callback. He just wanted to encourage me and say, what you did there in that second version, I've never seen anybody interpret the scene that way. And that is something that you, with your unique personal experience and point of view, you brought something like unique and beautiful to that scene. And I'm paraphrasing and making up his exact words, but
He didn't say beautiful. He said like
he didn't
dope.
say beautiful. Yeah. That was dope. He probably did, honestly.
Yeah.
But
Because I was there.
you were there and you remember, and you were recording.
Yeah.
I'll just always like hang on to that. And that has really influenced the way that I do so many auditions.
Oh, that's awesome.
From
I love
that
that, yeah.
day, which was just to like not be afraid to bring my authentic self, which happens to be a homosexual male, Jesse.
I know.
Okay.
God.
You're always forgetting though, so I thought maybe you'd forgot again.
When?
Literally 5 times today.
No.
Okay, well,
I have the notes right here.
it says
Mean
it does.
Gays Live.
Aaron gay. Aaron equals gay. That's what it says.
Aaron is gay. That's what it says.
But yeah, I have found a lot of success in not being afraid to bring a more authentic version of myself to an audition scenario. And whether that means being a little bit more flamboyant than I picture the role being done if it was cast by somebody else. Like, I think we can all picture what the role is supposed to be if somebody else was doing it.
But when you do that, you end up doing it the exact same way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not being true to yourself, which never makes for a great performance, or maybe not a fun performance. But I was telling somebody recently, they also are gay. They happen to be pretty flamboyant. They're also new to acting. So I love talking to them about the stuff that I've learned over the years. And part of what I said to them, they said something like, I just don't want to do this role wrong because I don't see this character as gay, or I don't see this character, like, I don't see myself being this character. And I was able to try to help them reframe that by saying, like, if you book this role, you are the only version and representation of this role that will exist on screen. So that is the right way to do it. And you might not be right for this role, and that's okay. But
yeah, I love that so much.
But
I love that.
bring you and what the best version of you doing this role can be to that audition.
That's, I mean, that is like you being you, like that's the superpower. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I love that so much, man. And, you know, again, congrats to you with everything you've accomplished and really kind of just stepping into yourself in every aspect of it. And you can see that it's paying off. And so I'm happy for you, man.
Thanks, Jesse.
And well, with that comes our spotlight sign off.
Wow.
5 questions to end strong.
Okay.
Question number 1 is...
You've got these memorized. This is
course,
wild.
Yeah.
Wow.
What is something that you are super grateful for today?
Today, I am very grateful that I live in a time with cell phones, because I got to like talk to my auntie on the way here and just catch up and tell her about tour. And yeah,
I love that. I really appreciate the simple like ones. You know, I remember, I think Hunter Burke was like, I'm grateful for my car, like that we can just get places.
Yeah.
Like, and it's so true, because
I haven't always had a car.
And we take these things for granted. Like, it's wild, the cell phone and everything that we can do with it. And we're never just waking up like, I'm grateful for my cell phone.
Right.
So,
my cell phone woke me up this morning.
yeah. Cell phone does all of the things, right?
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Number 2 is, what TV show, movie, or book changed the trajectory of your life?
Ooh, the Lord of the Rings series.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. And I'll tell you why. Because when those came out, I was homeschooled. And I was really not allowed to watch much of mainstream media. Movies, TV shows, and all that. But because The Lord of the Rings was seen as somewhat of a Christian allegory, that was like one of the first real series of films that I was allowed to go see in theaters. And it blew my mind. On top of the films being incredible, as soon as the DVDs came out, I went to Best Buy and bought every single one. And then as soon as any of the extended versions came out, bought those. And I consumed the behind the scenes features so many times over.
Really?
And it just, I know that watching those documentary featurettes was part of what fueled and enhanced my love for filmmaking. I mean, I don't know how many hours of bonus footage the DVDs hold, but I've seen all of them multiple times. And then I think there was a point, I know there was a point where I was watching at least one Lord of the Rings film a day, every day of the week, because again, homeschooled, I had so much time on my hands. Yeah.
Wow.
Lord of the Rings
Very
changed my
cool.
life. Yeah.
Very cool. Third question. What is something in your daily routine that you really cherish?
Waking up and opening Instagram right away and just,
really?
Yeah, no.
I was like, no way.
Honestly, as weird as it might sound, like my nighttime routine of like flossing and brushing my teeth and,
really?
and moisturizing and
good
all that.
For you.
It is something that it hasn't always been a part of my routine, but it no matter how crazy my day has been, my brain starts to like rest and relax and get ready for bed and shut down and turn the world off once I get into that routine. So that's a really nice time for me to just clean up everything from the neck up and get in my bed and be comfy cozy.
Your dental hygiene thanks you.
Yeah, and my face hygiene.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Well, then number 4 is, what's something you're currently trying to improve in your life?
Honestly, getting back into my regular routine. The tour has been so all consuming recently, just with writing and then setting up logistics. Jake and I are really doing so much of this on our own. We don't have like a full team helping us with everything like booking hotels and flights and all that stuff. So it's been quite a behemoth. It's been quite a monster to undertake. And so I am very much looking forward to having a little bit of time off or just getting back into a normal schedule of working out and working out and eating a little bit better is something that I'm looking forward to getting.
When you got here and I hugged you, you felt very strong.
Thank you.
I thought, Aaron's been working out, but I guess you haven't been.
Yeah.
Shame.
I just flexed.
You just flexed when you hugged me? Oh, okay. It was impressive.
Yeah, thanks.
It was good.
I give a mean hug.
Yeah. Well, you are a mean gay.
Whoa.
Last question.
You remembered.
Last question. If you wanted the audience to definitely get at least one thing from this podcast, even though we've gone over a lot, but you wanted them to get one thing, maybe it's one thing we've already gone over, maybe something we forgot to talk about, what would it be?
You are gay. Just accept it. I think it would just be kind of the theme of like, be you. You won't always be right for every role, but the roles that you that are yours won't pass you by. And I hate hearing that, especially when I get discouraged about a role that does pass me by, and I really felt like I was right for it, and I know better. But yeah, I think the longer I'm in this business and the more roles that I do book that I felt actually were really right for me, and I was right for this set and these people and, whatever the circumstances are, I'm just learning to like trust a little bit more. So be you.
Perfectly put.
Really?
Yeah.
You think it was perfect?
Perfect.
Wow. I felt like a mess coming out of my mouth.
Oh, well, you do like a dirty one, like you said.
I like a dirty mouth.
Okay. Well, everyone, Aaron, thanks so much for being here. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, leave us a review and send it to a friend. And if you didn't, then you haven't made it this far. So we'll see you on the next one. Aaron, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, Jesse.